we're going to move on to item number 6. Charles, while you coming up on item number 6, dealing with the staff report, some of the things that I want to make note also that the board has been asking for a copy of the budget for the Midtown redevelopment area, and it has not been given, and yet it's moving forward to the City Commission for approval. I'm going to ask that every member come out to the City Commission meeting on next Wednesday in order that we voice our opinion about the budget that is currently being approved by the City Commission. I had the opportunity to attend some of the budget fairs, and I would wish that we would get more active and attend some of these fairs because it affects our community. The budget was not shown with anything in it for our community, and all of us, including the community, really should take issues with that. I also noticed, and I know we've been talking about the Orange Avenue project for the longest. It was $1 million that I asked for from the city over 6 months ago, but yet they claim they can't find it. But if you sit back and look at it, they've been holding $1 million in reserves from the Midtown redevelopment area budget for well over 2 years now for the completion of Orange Avenue while they were looking for Tiger grants. But the last time I checked, Orange Avenue is a county road, and the utilities under Orange Avenue belong to the city of Daytona Beach, not just to Midtown. I didn't see nowhere in the budget where it was taken out of downtown budget for Orange Avenue, because Orange Avenue runs from Nova Road all the way over to the beach side. So I'm going to ask that we come out and ask the commission not to approve this budget unless we have money in our budget so we can help the citizens of Midtown. So I'm asking that you come out and support that. Charles.
Good afternoon, Board. Charles Bryant, Midtown Redevelopment Project Manager. You do have a copy of the staff report that was submitted to me by the Code Enforcement Officer, Eddie Lopez. These are some of the activities that he's been working on. He's doing a good job of trying to clean up some of the area. I've been attending the code enforcement meetings and also special magistrate. I was in a special magistrate meeting this morning. So he is out in the area. He's doing a lot of work riding around on a bicycle. I know he hasn't got to some of the things, some of the issues that we've talked about, but the way they are structured, they are moving from one area to the next. So I know he's down in the area. I've seen him out there. I've talked to him. And he has answered some of the complaints that I sent to him. So I asked the board to be a little patient with him. I've been gone over the last few weeks on vacation. I've been out with a surgical procedure myself. So I know he's out doing some work in the community. And if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. I will get with him on them, and we will try to make sure we take care of them.
Charles, being that we're going into the last quarter next month on the agenda, make sure we add code enforcement to the agenda.
As for coming in doing
okay. Have them come in, because the board has been asking for quite a few things that have not been completed. And boy, everybody know I normally don't ask for code to come because I'd rather spend time making sure that we address the issues of concerns of our community. But because we're going into the quarter and it's the end of the year, it's time we at least say something to the board. You can ask them their questions directly. If we have no other questions on this, or Ms. Cato, do you have any comments? I'm sorry.
Just properties that I called about and left messages or spoken to Mr. Lopez, they are listed and the problems have been taken care of. I received a call from City Hall because I keep complaining about Magnolia Avenue with all that money that was put into it. We have a problem in the city, and the city, the residents are concerned about who's responsible for grass that's up to the street. They're under the assumption that their property line stops at the sidewalk, where their property meets the sidewalk. But with further investigation, I found out that the resident is responsible for everything to the street. And we're dealing with a lot of people in Midtown, in the old area, that are senior citizens that live by themselves, that either don't have the economical resources for a lawn care service, or they don't have a lawnmower, or they physically cannot do it. And I gave some ideas to the city, and they told me they were great and they would forward them. My concern is land development code. If we're going to stick to that, we're going to have a problem. If we keep going through these neighborhoods, beautifying and doing projects, and the residents assume that the city is responsible for the upkeep, when it turns out, according to the land development code, that the citizens are responsible. And I think that's something we need to really look at. And I have a problem with the investment in lawn and magnolia trees that take up an entire street, and we have 3 feet of weeds growing up, and all the trees are dead. And you took some out because they were hazard to the road, you moved them. But if you're going to invest that kind of money into beautification, we need to invest the funding to keep it beautiful, to find out that there's no irrigation and all of that shrubbery was put in. And with the weather that we've had, that's just a waste. And that money could have been used for something else. Or once we saw that it was not going to be, I need my verb, it wasn't going to last. Feasible for the project, we should have gone in quickly and removed it. And I keep harping on this. We need to stop beautifying until we take care of the underlying projects, because Magnolia Avenue is also a street that has to be busted up and repaired.
Well, one of the things that, and I think me and Charles was addressing, is that that particular area has reclaimed water, and before they even set the trees down, I asked, why don't we run sprinklers for that reclaimed water on that system? So that's something that we really need to go back and address. Again, we need to come out to the CRA meeting and address these issues of concern to the CRA and to the City Commission.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, the reason I here tonight, he went home sick today.
Right.
I know he has been in conversation with Public Works about the trees, about the cutting of the grass in that area. I don't know what the results are, because he met with them last week. So I know he's been talking to Public Works about the trees and the grass on Magnolia Street. I'll make sure I have an answer for you at the next meeting on that.
All right.
I'll just make the statement that before we do any other major projects, and whoever our new city commissioner will be, speaking for myself only from Midtown, I want to make sure that everything is done structurally to support any type of beautification, because that's a lot of money sitting up from Martin Luther King to Nova Road dead that has to be taken out. And if they're not going to maintain the lawns, take it out.
Thank you for your comment. Ms. Benjamin?
I still have concerns about 112 Martin Luther King.
The restaurant, they are, as I understand it, they are in a process of either getting fined or they've taken to the Code Enforcement Board by Mr. Lopez. I don't know what the results are on that, but I know he has taken some action on that particular building.
Ms. Simonette? Mr. Wilburn? Dr. Jameson?
Yeah, I asked last week about the right-of-ways and the grass. When time you cross over International, you start seeing the grass growing out of the sidewalk, and you said that the property owners are responsible for that. Could they get a reminder? Because one of the things would really help Martin Luther King if we got the grass, if that grass is cut. I know they don't have lawns, but right in front of their businesses, it looks very bad. And if they just are reminded that they are responsible for that, they may not know it. Because I think Ms. Benjamin said that they think the city is supposed to take care of the sidewalk, and the code says that the property owner, so maybe they don't know it.
Mr. Tooley?
Nothing for code enforcement.
Ms. Hurd?
I won't take the time. I would just fill out the card for Mr. Lopez.
Okay. Thank you very much. Charles, I have nothing. I want to back up a minute. I didn't do my proper protocol. I want to take time to recognize State Representative Wayne Taylor, who came out to our meeting tonight, is sitting in the back. Also, it's an honor to let you know that he's fighting hard to make sure we get a law school in our community and a veteran center in the city. So I want you to know that he's really working hard for the city of Daytona Beach. We got another special guest, and I think I'm starting to become his friend. But they had Dr. Edison Jackson in the house tonight. From Cookman University. Dr. Jackson, you can take a minute to say hello to the board and to the community, please.
Thank you very much. I just want to say that God is a good God, and we're just so grateful that we are here doing God's work, and it's a great joy and pleasure to be here. And I wanted to tell you that our fall enrollment is, we've seen some growth. It's one of the best academically prepared freshman class we've had in a decade. And so we are not a college of last resort, but a college of choice, a university of choice, I should say. And so we thank you for all the great support that each one of you has given to us. And because of your support, we can continue to do great things at Bethune-Cookman University. Thank you again.
Thank you. Charles.
Okay, board, the next thing on the agenda is site plan DEV 2012-041, BCU Larry R. Hansfield Athletic Center Training Practice Field. We have representatives from the school here tonight. As was last month, we came before you. They did came before you, did some discussion about the item. Came back tonight to actually for the final site plan review, but because we don't have a design professional here tonight, we won't be able to vote on this item, this particular item. It will be back in October for final site plan review and final approval. Per the university's request, Mr. Parker Mitchenberg has a presentation that he would like to make tonight. You have a copy of it, of that presentation in front of you that I printed out for you. This is it. Everyone should have a copy of it.
I don't have one.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
I'll make my own. Thank you, sir.
it's going to show up there anyway. I just want to make sure the board members had a copy. I guess Parker is going to do the presentation. After the presentation, if you have any questions, you can ask him. I'll come back if you have any questions that you'd like to ask me. I'll be glad to try to answer them. Okay, Parker.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Board. Parker Minchenberg, 1729 Ridgewood Avenue. Most of you guys saw the presentation at the last meeting, but we notified a lot of the adjacent property owners, and they're here today. Then we found out about Mr. McGee, his medical issues, so we will be back, I believe, next month for the vote. But we wanted to go ahead and give the presentation sort of again for the public so we can get their input as well today. Not sure how to, okay. Okay, the first exhibit is the aerial of the project site. It's located on ISB, bounded between Lincoln and Jesse Street. And one of the items to point out is we've now put the parking lot overflow to the east, east of Jesse Street, so we're out of the residential area adjacent to the commercial area. That was a result of some meetings we had with the staff. Originally, you might have recalled, we were down at the corner of Magnolia and Lincoln Street with the overflow parking, so we've now moved that to the east. The next exhibit here is the existing building and parking lot construction. The building now is completed, the training center, and this rendering depicts what was already approved by you guys and has been, for the most part, constructed. Okay, the next exhibit is the proposed site plan. It shows the proposed synthetic practice field behind the athletic center. Shows the additional parking that occurs east of Jesse Street and the stormwater facility for the both projects, the practice field and the parking lot. As part of the site plan improvements, we're proposing oak trees at 30-foot centers and landscape hedging. Additionally, there's the Bethune-Cookman fencing that's the wrought iron with the brick pillars that will occur along the street frontages. And along the south end of the practice field, there is a screening wall with landscaping, which I'll show you on the following exhibits. This shows you graphically where the screening walls will occur, and primarily they're along the south side of both the practice field and the parking lot where the project abuts residential. You can see the screening wall rendering is, or picture actually, is the upper right-hand corner of the exhibit, and then the Bethune-Cookman University standard wrought iron fencing with the brick pillars. So if you've been out to the site, some of this has already been constructed along Lincoln, so it'll be duplicated, the fencing along Jesse Street. This is just an exhibit of the engineering plan, shows you the practice field and the stormwater retention area. This is proposed to be a synthetic field. So it has synthetic grass, but it's on top of a 8-inch rock area. So it doesn't act like a paved parking lot in regard to stormwater. When it rains on top of the practice field, the water goes into the rock system below. That's one of the positive attributes of this synthetic field is on a typical field that's non-synthetic, natural grass, you get a lot of rain, you end up tearing up the grass, and the playability is affected. The synthetic field, play in the rain, play after the rain. There's no real wear and tear on it. This next rendering is an example of the view from the residences to the south. There's a couple houses that do abut the practice field area. And what's proposed is a 6-foot-high masonry fence that'll be stuccoed, and then it has columns to give it some aesthetics at 30-foot centers. And then there are 4-inch caliper oak trees that'll be 14 feet in height that planting. Those are the bigger trees that are in the exhibit. In between them will be crepe myrtle, which will provide some color. And you can kind of see the graphic of the 6-foot-tall man or woman on the right side there, give you an idea of the scale of it. And the last slide that I have, we didn't present last month, but these are the proposed conditions, and I think at this point I'm going to turn it over to Jim Morris to kind of talk about the conditions.
Jim, before you come and we address those
Yes, sir.
issues, because this is an action item, one of the things I like to do is to make sure that I get a public an opportunity to speak if they would like to.
I'll be glad to wait.
And then, yeah, I would like you to
Yes,
come
sir.
up last.
Thank you.
And, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead and explain the conditions that were addressed, and then after that,
All right.
I'll call you back up.
Board members, I'm Jim Morris. I'm here on behalf of Bethune-Cookman University. I wrote to you and provided an address of numerous things that have been discussed at different meetings. And my letter was dated August 31. I know the chairman didn't get his copy because it came back from the post office today, but I know he's also aware of the content. In the letter, I dealt with things that would be conditions designed to address the concerns that we've heard expressed. Also, since I sent the letter out, I did a property appraiser's web search for the people that would receive notice with a typical zoning request. Because I heard at one meeting, Ms. Benjamin had said, maybe not everybody had been included, and I'm not sure how you truly get everybody, but the best effort that I could make was to use the zoning list, so I did get the property appraiser's office to create that, and I provided the same letter to all the people in that list. And with it, I had a cover letter with both my office phone number and my email address if someone wanted to use that, and invited people to call if they had questions or concerns. And that did happen. I've talked to a few folks that have called. So I want to speak about that briefly because some folks were concerned about some noise that they've heard, and they also wanted to know that their comments are being heard. So we had those conversations, and I talked to President Jackson about it. And the noise that was heard was apparently from the parking lot in the nursing building. And people do use it for, there may be a section practice and so on, but the university is aware of that, and they're going to work towards addressing that particular concern that the neighbors raised. And also, some of the neighbors said, just to have a return phone call so that we've got communication, and I know President Jackson is committed to that. So those are a side issue that happened after I sent this letter out, but they were the result of the letter being sent out. So from a standpoint of the conditions, I listed those on the first page, and that is that all activities scheduled on the practice field at the Athletic Training Center shall conclude no later than 11 p.m. The lights, second condition, the lights on the practice field shall be turned off no later than 11 p.m. There shall be no practice, band practice, permitted at the field at any time. There will not be band practice on this field. And then the fourth condition, which wasn't mentioned in the staff report that you have, has to do with any sort of special event so that this board has participation and input into that. That condition still stands as an offer from the university if the board wishes to incorporate that. In the letter, I went through the various questions that I could recall, and I take notes, that I thought board members were concerned about. And so in that, I spoke to parking. Parking is provided as required by city code. Parker has already talked about the screening and landscaping, and that screening and landscaping was a product both of city code requirements as well as neighborhood input for what neighbors wanted or didn't want. And Parker didn't mention, but there's been a drain pipe and receiver pipe put in that one neighbor was concerned about drainage. That's a part of the plan. From a standpoint of noise, I've already spoken about the band practice, and at the last meeting, there was discussion about spectators and bleachers and Pee Wee football. And I've spoken to those things in the letter. There's no intention to do anything other than to use this field as a practice field for university teams. Bleachers would simply exacerbate some of the problems that have been talked about from a standpoint of parking and load on the neighborhood. And people are welcome to come, as they traditionally have, with lawn chairs, blankets. I know folks have different practices, but coming and they want to come to this practice and watch how the team is doing, those are all still open and available in an open field setting. Bleachers also create some hazard for the people that are practicing, because if they run off the edge and you don't have a lot of runoff room in a practice field, someone could be hurt. So for a number of reasons, those things were considered, and we've decided that that is the response that we should have. Public access, I've really spoken to that just a moment ago. And Board Member McGee, who is your design professional, he's a licensed architect, and he had particular questions, and I addressed those questions as well. And I would point out to you that Member McGee has participated, to my knowledge, all throughout this process, which actually began in March of 2011 with the application. So that while he's absent tonight, he has participated extensively, and I tried to speak to his questions and those things that weren't specifically addressed. As an example, he thought perhaps there should be some sort of analysis, but there isn't anything other than an open field to analyze. If you contrast that with a building or some event or activity, you can study that and look at sound waves and so on. But from the standpoint of a practice field, landscaping and walls and control of lighting, and I didn't specifically mention it in my spoken comments, but in my letter I did mention to you that shielding will be used to focus the light downward to minimize the off-site glare, even though the lights are going to be turned off by 11. And it's actually something that I think people are a lot more aware of, strangely enough, because of sea turtles. But it's actually become a more established practice as to how to try and control off-site direct illumination as well as glare. And the university's lighting system will be designed to minimize impact on adjacent properties. So those are the specifics of it, and we've outlined the conditions. Certainly we're here to talk with you, see if there's other things that you think need to be addressed, or if neighbors think need to be addressed. And that concludes my comments until you have another time for me, Chairman.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
To the audience, if you would like to speak to this subject at this present time, we will entertain you for 2 minutes. When you come up to the podium, please state your name clearly and your address, and please pay attention to the clock that's being controlled by Ms. Benjamin. Thank you very much.
Johnny Ponder, 885 Maley, M-A-L-E-Y, Street, Daytona Beach. I have a couple little things. I talked to Parker earlier about the fencing wall, and I had some concerns about that, the screening wall, because I was thinking it was, a screen, but he's told me that it's the wall, a 6-foot person. Well, I'm not 6 feet, but I think maybe I would like for it to be a little bit higher, but, I'm happy with the wall. The relocation of power poles, I think we have power poles in that area, and I would like for those to maybe be put underground. Is there, Parker, pay attention. Relocations of the power poles in that area. Could you look at that and find out about that for me, please? See if there is somewhere we can put them maybe underground. And, that would be real helpful. Like I said, I like the wall. And I wanted to be really specified that in your letter, Mr. Morris, you were saying that the public was not going to have any access. But last month, right? Okay. You said the public would have access? Okay. Okay. Because I didn't read that you said that. I remember last month you said they would have some access to that, field. So let's hope we can have that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ponder. Are there any other public comments at this present time?
Good evening to the board. Excuse
Good
me.
evening.
Pierre Lewis, 130 South Franklin Street. I live only 3 streets over from where this athletic field is going to be set up, or the gymnasium, whatever. My question was also concerning where it said that have access. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
And to the point where it said that, and then there was I did miss last month's meeting, but I read the minutes, and there was a comment there where it says that it would be available to the community. But then at one point, I was wondering how exactly that is to be structured, because you know that I have the 3 youth centers. So what was that point that was there where it says that it would be available for the community?
We're going to address that
Okay.
as soon as the comments get done.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Ivy.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you, Pierre. Pierre attends a lot of our meetings and is a very strong advocate for Midtown. I appreciate his comments.
Steve Miller, 383 Walnut Street, and I actually have a business at 839, soon to have one. But I'm just grateful to know that the city and the college that we claim that was started right here in Daytona Beach, that's world renowned. And I'm looking forward to the game going to be played against Miami. I'm wanting to say that we're going to win. And I would love for this board to be a part of something great that's happening in Daytona Beach. I remember when I first came here, I went to school at Florida State, and I used to say that there was a tradition at Bethune-Cookman College. They always lose. Now, they always win. And for this commission, I think you all will be on the right side if you vote for a winning team.
Thank you. We're the Midtown Redevelopment Board.
Should hire him.
Are there any more comments?
Pastor Max Hawkins, 1641 3rd Street, Daytona Beach, Florida. I'm a property owner to the west of the development of Lincoln Street. And my question is there any proposal for that property over there? I did receive a letter to come to the meeting, and I assume all of this is in the same area. So is there any immediate plans for Lincoln Street development of the west side of Lincoln Street? I'm told that Cookman owns most of that already, and all except mine, maybe. So, you know, I'm just wondering what we're going to do, and I'm ready to work with it. Mm-hmm. That's all.
Pastor Hawkins, I'm glad to see you come out. I can't answer that question for you, but I think the right people are here to hear your concerns, and I'm sure in the future we're going to be able to address that issue.
Kathy Washington, 937 Lockhart Street. I'd just like to say I think this is an excellent project. I'm looking forward to us moving forward with it. My major concern was that the citizens have some say, citizens in that area have some say so before we move forward with it. And I think every effort has been made in the past
year and a half,
more so in the last 6 months to remedy the issue we were dealing with. So you have my full support on this.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? If not, I'm going to open it up to the board for discussion. We had this quite a bit before us already, so I'm going to start with Dr. Jameson. Any comments?
As I was reading all this information in the letter that was sent, this project to me started as a non-intrusive facility where it was going to be used as a practice field only when the football players were going to place someone who has artificial turf. My belief is that means maybe 3 or 4 times a year, during football season, and maybe doing spring practice. And as a former government professor, when government got in, it seems as now it will be a facility that every Tom, Dick, and Harry can apply to use. So I think we kind of, I don't know, how should I say? I won't say we made a mess of something, but it seems that we've forgotten what the original purpose of is a facility to be used for football players. If everybody can apply to use it now, that is my concern, because that means not just football season or spring practice, but any time of year anybody can apply to use it. And I really want to make sure that whoever's in charge of deciding what's going to be there, be very, very careful about that. Now we're going from 4 times a year to anytime anybody asks. So I think the citizens would really want you to be cautious about who applied to use it. And I know him well, but I can't remember his name, but he mentioned something about the football players, Little League football players. The city has facilities for that, and I doubt if they're going to ever play on artificial turf anywhere. So I don't see a need for that to be used for that purpose. But my main thing is be very, very careful who asks to use it and who's allowed to use it, because that more than the football players will cause the problem, I think, in the community.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
First of all, I'd like to say that that I'm a Wildcat, win, lose, or draw. So, Mr. Miller, win, lose, or draw, I'm a Wildcat. And I am, and this is I love this project, and as our mother would say, I glory in your spunk, as far as the city and Bethune-Cookman partnering. My concern is that if this facility is going to be used for, as has been previously said, if it's going to be used for things that are going to involve other teams from within the city, and the bleacher thing was that was my issue. If you're going to have the city participating and people coming to watch, that for people that are elderly, for people that might be handicapped, that some accommodations be provided for them in that event. And there was a little bit of confusion because last month, it was said that it would be used for outside participation, and then it's a little ambiguous this week when it says, well. So if you could clear that up, so we can understand exactly what's going on with that. But again, I state that I love this project. I think it would be an asset to Bethune-Cookman College, and it's good to see Bethune-Cookman College and the city partnering together.
Thank you, Ms. Simonette Reed. Mr. Tooley?
You going to Ms. Simonette?
No, she reading. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll come back to
She's
her.
reading. First of all, if I'm not mistaken, Attorney Lathan, if you could help us with this, I don't know if you know it off the top of your head, but doesn't the code limit the height of the fence to 6 feet?
I believe so. Let me look it up real quick, though.
I'm pretty sure I read that in your
LDC? Yeah, it's limited to 6 feet.
Limited to 6 feet.
Yeah.
So that's the reason that there's a 6-foot screening wall. In the letter, in number 6 under public access, it plainly states that the public will not be using this facility. So that handles another issue. One of the things, yes, I wasn't here for the entire meeting last month, but one of the things that I do know that if it's written down, that's what we can go by. And it's written here that the facility will not be used by the public. In fact, it says the practice field is not intended and has not been proposed to be public use facility. Therefore, then we can hold them to that. Okay, yep, intended. We can hold them to that. Okay. Other thing is that I believe that this is a something that would be very progressive for the community at large. Further in this particular document, it says that the field is designed, when they are scheduled to play on grass, they will, weather permitting, practice on grass. So several of the things that we're going back over, the letter does address. And it addresses it, quite frankly, in very easy to understand terms. So I think that if we keep this, what was being said, that is, if anything was coming before us as a special event, it would be presented before the board. At that time, we can deal with that. And I think that we're trying to put out a fire that hadn't been started yet. I believe that the facility itself is going to be useful for, and it will be an asset. Because let's face it, right now, some things that are going on in that area are not beneficial to our community. I'm through.
Oh, thank you. Oh, so, you
There is
know,
a 6 feet height limitation in the code.
I was, you know, with no time limit on you. Miss Hurd. Yeah, I get it.
I'd just like to also address the fact that if you read my report, these issues have been addressed in my report that I sent out, specifically about the use of the field, the time limit, lighting, and all that has been addressed in my report also. And I had 3 of the recommendations that came forward that was taken out of the letter, put on my report. I didn't add the 4th one in there, but if that's something that Bethune-Cookman University has agreed upon and the board wants to agree upon it, we can also add that to the report as one of the conditions. But everything that we've asked them to do, I've been working with them. We've been doing this for over a year and a half. They met, I think they went outside the guidelines that we requested. As staff, I do recommend that this be approved at the October meeting, and we go forward, we work with them. There's been a extraordinary effort put on behalf of whoever been doing the presentations, that's been working with staff to make sure that they meet all the guidelines. They've went out in the community, they've talked, they've had meetings. I've been a part of some of the meetings. So I think at this point, everything has been addressed that we've asked them to do and more. So recommendation from the staff would be that we approve it and move it forward and hope that they bring us some more good projects.
Charles, you was out of order.
Thank you.
Ms. Hurd.
I must say, I'm thinking about the games people play. I guess we have moved forward from that point because I've been here since the college, the university started with this. And I say again, the game people play. First of all, if it was left up to me and to make a decision right now, I would still say no because of the games that have been played. We are not here to play games, and I want to make that clear. When the proposal was first given to us, the practice field was not there. That was added later. It was also, if I recollect, is that that's supposed to have been a 5-level parking garage. Am I right? The athletic training centers. Well, I do remember that. Let's move on. And but right now, you have done a very good job, beautiful job in beautifying the city. Not only Midtown, but the city. International Speedway Boulevard. I must also say, Mr. Parker, I don't think that the address is what you say it is. I believe it is on Jesse Street. If you look at the diagram, it's on Jesse Street. But we'll allow you, if the city will allow you, to use a different address. Okay? I'm sorry we had to remove trees, but you are replacing other trees. I was also concerned about thank you, Mr. Bryan, because they never did tell us the dimensions of the field out there, but you did in your report today. I was worried about the retention ponds, and I'm still concerned about the retention ponds. Thank you for bringing a beautiful site. Hopefully, we will be able to clean up the building on MLK back there with the restaurant materials and everything there. I am an alumni. I won't tell you how many years, only I left there since '64. I am a supporter of BCU, and I love football. So to Mr. Miller, and praying that we will do what we did last year and go a little further. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Benjamin?
My greatest concern is security, because the area, I know how the area is, and I know that a lot of people are going to be out there watching the football team, and I understand you have security, but security need to be over there. As long as the football team is there practicing, security need to be there. Thank you for the building. And I'm not a BCC alumni. I am an alumni from Florida Memorial University, the first one.
Thank you. Ms. Cato?
May I emphasize one thing?
Just wait just a minute. Ms. Cato?
I would just like to commend Mr. Minchberg and Mr. Morris for the armor you wear when we come out to fight. But I really want to thank you for all of the requests that I asked about, that they were answered. And for the plans, I'm learning a little bit of architectural things, but I will agree with Ms. Hurd on one thing, that Bethune-Cookman has made International Speedway Boulevard the blood vessel that runs through the heart of Daytona. Bethune-Cookman has really brought it up to standards for tourists and local people to want to meet. It's just amazing what those burgundy and white bricks do for a road when you start down outside of our fabulous car lots, but when you see that beautiful maroon and gold and the burgundy bricks, and it just keeps going and going, it really does a lot for Midtown. And I know the two of you leave here saying I'm the bullhead and I really can be kind of rough, but the fight I have is not for Denise. The fight I have is for the community. And I spoke with Mrs. Taylor at our workshop, Daisy Taylor Grimes, excuse me, and I told her if we could just get 1 year of homecoming that's traditional, where from that Wednesday to that Sunday, let me just say it became so commercialized. But if we could just get that 1 year of that traditional homecoming to where the community is involved in the planning and things are of such that the community can afford to come to these events, that bridges. This football field, I have to agree with Mrs. Hurd, there was so much that went on with it. And like I told the president at that time, that we need Bethune-Cookman and Bethune-Cookman needs us. When you come to us the first time, come to us and tell us what you want, because the constant coming back, it comes repetitious, and all of this can be done. Present one meeting, approve the next. I may not be here for the vote, but I do support this project, and is there any way I can cast my vote so it can be but other than that, thank you all for getting back to us with the corrections architecturally and from the community. Thank you so much.
Ms. Hurd, you have one other question.
Oh, I was, thank you. I was going to emphasize security. Security is important. We did have a little commotion yesterday in the Derbyshire area. Nearly 200 kids out there playing. A shooting broke out. You probably read it in the paper this morning. But the fella, I do understand, turned himself in. But that's not the point. We need security.
If there are not any more questions,
Excuse me. One, may I?
Yeah.
Driving up the street, when you pass the building and you look down Jesse, I guess they parked there for right now, but we still have the kids playing chicken with the traffic. I stopped so they could come across, but I'm just hoping and praying that we don't have a fatality out there between Lockhart and Martin Luther King. I know they're trying to get on the other side, but I don't know if you can send out a blast on the email or put something in their mailboxes, but they need to realize that international traffic, it's constant, and the lights don't change that often between MLK and Lincoln, and they're still, you know, this was a young man had on his, I guess he was coming from practice and walking back across to campus. So if something could be in place for them to understand that they need to be safe crossing international, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the board for their concerns. Only reason why Ms. Simonette is not allowed to participate in this particular discussion is because she's an employee of Bethune-Cookman. So that, in case you're wondering why I moved on, that is the reason why. No disrespect, part of the game. Mr. Morris, can you come back up for a few minutes, please? And boy, I want to say that I think all the concerns have been addressed. I'm sure that things can continue to be worked out between the university and the city and Midtown board. A lot of the things that we need to work on, this here has something to do with the town and gown theory that we're trying to implement also. So I think this will be when we do start meeting on the town and gown with the college, it'll help address some of the concerns and issues that we're currently talking about. The other part, going on the comment dealing with Ms. Cato, I know that Ms. Grimes has been working hard on the homecoming activities. I was contacted, but I just hadn't been able to get back with her, but I do believe she has been working hard trying to incorporate the community with BCU. So she has been doing that. Another part we was dealing with is the intrusiveness. I think a lot of that has been dealt with number 4 that was on your sheet. I think a lot of things will be worked out that becomes a school issue more so than our issue, but I think everything has been addressed in this. One of the things I wanted to point out to the board too, and this is just my take, and that's why I called Mr. Morris back up. When I look at number 7 on the letter that he sent out, being that we're dealing with Mr. McGee, we all know his status is basically dealing with sickness. And I don't know if he'll be here this month, next month, or whatever. But we have in front of us one of the best LDC attorneys in the city, county, and state, according to what I've been going through my battles with him on. I might have won one.
And you'll win more.
But I think at this point in time, because we've actually done this, and Ken has been here more than basically every discussion except this one, between the attorney and Mr. Morris, my question is, do we have to wait on next month, or can we go ahead and do a roll call vote, and if we need to come back with Ken, that'll be one of the questions that I have to ask. So I'll let
The
you
land
start with
development
it.
code requires that we actually don't have a quorum if the design professional is here. If we encounter a situation where Mr. McGee is not going to be back, I believe we can get an alternate design professional to sit in, but the land development requires that just to have a quorum for this issue. So we cannot vote on that tonight.
Okay, I wanted to make sure.
Well, and the land development code does say that, but it also says there shall be an alternate design professional, and there isn't one. And I don't know how you would accomplish appointment of an alternate design professional between now and the meeting in October. It's probably 4 weeks or so away from this meeting to your next regularly scheduled meeting. So that's the other side of the coin in dealing with that. And I want to yield to Ms. Cato. I see she's got her hand up. So.
My question was, just like our attorneys are appointed and sometimes they can't be here, don't we have someone within the city that, no, I'm just saying, I mean, if it has to be special call?
What I'm sitting back, I want to make sure, I want to hear both sides before we can make a decision. Because I understand the city side, but I mean, we've done other things dealing with staff before too that was incorrect, and we got moved on. But if we sitting back dealing with the design professional, Charles, and we know, or we have an idea that Ken may be out, what would the process be in order to get an alternate in?
I'm not sure that we would need to go all the way to commission level. I don't know if Stan Hawley, I know he's filled in the past on different boards. We could check with Reed. However, if we could get Ms. Goodman to get one appointed at the next, we could have an item rushed through, possibly, and get an alternate appointed.
Board members, if that is the process that you have to go through, you know, everyone has come tonight, and we'll certainly come back again if that is what is necessary. And while your vote may not be binding because of the absence of a quorum, if you're forced to take a vote this evening without having a quorum, I would respectfully request that you do that. And if it has to come back to you in October, hopefully you have the design professional, and you'd simply be able to affirm the vote that you take this evening if you can't make a final binding decision tonight. And from a compromise perspective, that may be the best that can be offered, but the board, the audience, everyone has spent a lot of time, and will spend as much time as it takes. I love the glory in your spunk. I'm going to remember that, and we will continue to work with you and move forward. So I would ask that you, at a minimum, do that, and if the board determines that it can move forward, then that's the board's determination, and we'll go with that as well.
Ms. Latham, according to, because he's the applicant and he's asking for a vote, I'm going to recommend that we do a vote tonight, a roll call vote for the record because he asked. And then if we have to come back next month, we'll do that, or if we have to do a special call, if Ken come out, we'll do that also. So I want to look forward to every opportunity. We'll make a vote tonight, a roll call vote tonight. That'll allow staff time to work with BCU to correct anything. If it's wrong, you can run it up the channel, and if we need to do a special call meeting, we'll do that also.
And Chairman, if you would permit me about 2 minutes, I want to address the specific issues that board members ask at some time before you get to the vote part of it, if you would permit me.
Okay, and keeping that in mind, I do think all the questions have been asked. I'm sure if a problem arises, the board and staff, particularly Charles, will be working hand in hand with Bethune-Cookman as we work on this, because once the field is completed, I'm sure we'll have some questions answered. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Morris.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry.
point of order. If we do take a vote without a quorum, it's not a binding vote.
Right. And I said it would be non-binding, Mr.
Right, but what he did ask, could he still get one? And all we doing it's a formality, like what you're saying.
Exactly.
But what I hope can be accomplished in that is the board gets to express its sentiment, and that may abbreviate the procedure at the next hearing, because you can express, you have a public hearing, it's noticed, everyone that could be here is here, so you can certainly express your sentiment and hopefully abbreviate the procedure if that is what has to be done. And I think that would be helpful to everyone. And I do have brief responses to a couple of questions that were asked, and I'll be glad to give those at the chairman's leisure.
Yes, you have the
Thank
floor.
you, sir. Security. The president heard the comments in regard to security. Your desires in relation to security will be met. There will be security there as long as the football team is there. From the standpoint of Mr. Loomis's question about effectively balancing, I think, community interest with youth activities and the college activities, my letter says, and it means, that this is a specific purpose facility. It is intended to be a practice facility for university teams. And I need to make sure that the concept is understood, because there's not only the football team, but there's also some women's athletic teams that will be able, but they are university teams. But at the same token, when the president and I have met and others have talked about this, the university has other facilities north of ISB that are available, and the college is opening to, the university is open to working towards scheduling with individuals like Mr. Loomis to accommodate their needs for facilities, and to have those people involved, those people being the people that participate, involved in those programs in a coordinated way that opens the university up more to the community. Because as I've gotten to know the president, I know that an important central mission for him is to reach out to the community and have more relationship between the college and the community. And I know that he's dedicated to that, and that's a part of the process in involving the community more. It's to welcome the community into the aspects of the college. From the standpoint of the elderly access and handicap parking, there is handicap parking available in the parking lot. We looked at the question of bleachers and so on, and those things were discussed at the last meeting, but it was a discussion meeting, and we had a follow-up, and following the follow-up, I wrote to the board. So I wanted to be clear that bleachers aren't proposed. It isn't proposed to be a public use facility because of its location in relation to the university. At the same time, the public that has come to practices is always welcome to attend those practices, because it's a secured environment. The coaches are there, the team is there, the community is interested in how the players are doing and how they're playing, those sort of things. The college welcomes that involvement. But it's something that comes and goes at the same time as the football team, and it isn't an extracurricular activity that would be something that would be disturbing to the neighborhood. So I want to make sure that I'm clear in that. In regard to Pastor Hawkins' questions about the property west of Lincoln, the university does own a significant amount of property there. Mr. Menschenberg is a site planner for the university in conjunction with university staff. There presently are no plans for the property west of Lincoln. I'm sure there will be at some point in time, but there is presently nothing. Let me say this. The tradition that you talked about with the field being not mentioned and then mentioned will not happen again. When the college or university has plans, this board will know, you will be involved, and they will work with you towards whatever that endeavor may be. But presently, nothing is planned for it. And I think those are the points that I heard. And, Mr. Bryan asked about the fourth item. It's in my letter. The university agrees to that item. And if you want to include it in the staff conditions, we're welcoming that. Thank you, board.
Ms. Morris, thank you for your explanation. At this present time, what I'd like to do is to honor the wishes of the applicant and do a roll call vote for formality. Thank you.
We need a motion first.
Oh, I'm sorry. May I have a motion on this development item, please?
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Benjamin.
I make a motion that we do a roll call vote on DEV 2012-041 Bethune-Cookman College Larry R. Henfield Athletic Center Training Practice Field.
You heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Do you guys want the fourth condition in there or not?
Oh, yes, you got to make them amend your second, withdraw it. It was 2. With number 4.
Yeah, just to be clear with all 4 conditions.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the 4th condition from Mr. Morris' letter.
Second motion.
And otherwise as presented in the staff report.
As presented in the staff report.
Is motion and second? Any discussion?
None.
This present time, may I have a roll call vote, please? Oh, did you have a question?
discussed already.
Excuse me.
Oh, okay. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Benjamin?
Yes. Sure.
Ms. Simonette?
She cannot vote.
Ms. Cleo?
Yes.
Mr. Julie?
Yes.
Ms. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Dr. Jameson?
Yes.
Chairman Ivey?
Yes. At this present time, where, Charles, make sure we know which direction we need to go in, get with staff on that. If we need to do a special call meeting, I'm sure we're going to take about 30 minutes to do it. If they say we need to do it, which I'm sure we will, let's if we can get it in this week on a Friday, about 4:30. Board, can I get a schedule? You won't be able. She won't be able. No.
If there is going to be another vote, you guys would need to coordinate with Charles because he'd have to get the design professional on board.
Right.
So it might be a little premature to set the meeting.
As soon as we get it, let's say I forgot about the game is, and what you got. Thank you very much. I'd like to move on to item number 8, board priorities.
Go Wildcats.
Charles.
Go Rattler.
Thank you.
Rattler.
You ready?
Okay. Board priorities. I put this on every month because I haven't received any calls. I have not received any emails about the board priorities. I just keep putting it on here until I hear from you. We are in the process of going through budget, as Chairman Ivey has mentioned. We need to make sure that you've got a list. I gave you a list of what we put together. If you need anything else, that list is going to be forwarded to the city manager's office. So if you got anything else that you want to add to that list, I need to know. So until the point they tell me I can't put it on here anymore, I continue to put it on here till I hear from the board members.
I have a question.
Yes.
Go ahead, Ms. Benjamin.
Charles, several meetings last year, could you please tell me what happened with the stop signs?
Oh, excuse me. Before we get to that, will you move that comment down to the board comments?
Mr. Chair.
Please, do you mind?
No.
Because I want to give y'all more time. on your on-board comments today. I wanted to get a lot of things out, so.
I thought the list from the workshop that you gave us, that we each submitted, and then you gave them back to us with each person's priorities.
Yes.
So you're saying if we have any more added to that, or if not, you're going to go with what we submitted?
That's correct.
Okay, because I thought it was done once we submitted it and added the second ones to it. That's why I haven't submitted any. So now that you're saying that, I will submit some.
Yeah. As you recall, every meeting has been on here. Because I wanted to get it right, so we could send it forward. I asked you to review what I gave to you to review and get back with me. So that's what I'm asking.
Okay.
Ms. Eminent.
We just said that we're not even considered a part of the budget. How do we go about all the things that we're submitting? How do we know we're going to ever get any of those approved or ever done?
I can't answer that question, Ms. Simonet, but if we don't submit anything, we definitely won't get anything.
So how do we get on the budget?
Well, what I wanted to do, and I'm glad, that's why I'm asking that we come out on the next city commission meeting, which is next Wednesday, because the same questions that we asking Charles that he can't answer, we need to be asking those questions to the city commission. Okay, and that's why the board priorities, and if you bring your list, we got 9 people on this board, so that's 18 minutes of questions.
You know,
That's
it's
2 minutes.
upsetting
That's
to
2
see.
minutes of every board member has a right to speak at that city commission meeting. And I'm gonna ask that you come out and speak and ask these questions, because we need these 18 minutes at the next city commission meeting on the question that you just
Right.
asked.
It's really upsetting because how else are we going to get anything done if we don't pay on the budget?
That's true.
Thank you very much, Ms. Seminole, for your comment, and also your, Charles.
Go to the next one.
Yes. If we have no redevelopment project updates, do we?
Yeah, I just want to mention a couple of things. I did talk with Mr. McGee, and he's probably watching TV if he's up to make sure I mention this stuff, so I'll make sure I mention it, because if I don't, he'll call me tomorrow and said, you told me you was going to say that, but you didn't, because I was looking, so I'll make sure. He did suggest that we have a board workshop to go over the Midtown plan. His concern was as he stated before, the sidewalks in Midtown area. The Midtown plan saying we should have wider sidewalks. He wants us to have that discussion on how we intend on doing that. That was one of the things he wanted us to talk about. He also mentioned the fact that he wanted to have a meeting, a discussion with Chief Chitwood about the Midtown area. I know a few weeks or a month or so ago, I think he mentioned that Chief talked about the crime in the Midtown area. He wanted us to have a discussion with Chief Chitwood and for him to offer up ways and suggestions that we could kind of limit or take care of some of the issues that we have related to crime. Those are two of the issues that he wanted us to discuss at the workshop, and generally discuss the plan itself and make sure that everyone understood what was being presented, and that we stick together as a board and representing the Midtown community. And he expressed, as everyone knows, his deep concern about the Midtown plan and the Midtown area. He actually told me that he thought he could be to the meeting tonight after surgery today, and I told him that wasn't going to happen, but his heart is here. Although he's not here, his heart is here with the Midtown board, and also with the Midtown redevelopment plan that he had a lot of input on. So regardless of whether he's here tonight, and that's dedication. You know, that's dedication. He's been doing this a long time. He's dedicated. He hates the missed meetings. Although I know a lot of times he hadn't been filling up the par, he still comes because he's just that dedicated. And my plans are to go out. I was going to go tonight. I know it'd be too late to get out to the hospital, but I will be going out to the hospital tomorrow to visit with him and let him know that his voice was heard through me tonight. So he won't have to chew me out tomorrow.
Charles, what we'll do, when we had a special meeting, let's go ahead and try to schedule the seminar and workshop for that same day. So that way we can go right into the other. That way we're not running back and forth, and we can hammer some things out. So we'll try to schedule a special call meeting first if we need it, and then we'll go right into the workshop. Okay? And we'll make sure we have snacks, dinner, because Johnny love to eat.
Okay.
So let's make sure that we have that set up.
We do have to notice that also, right? Is that correct?
It would be a public
So
meeting.
that might take us a little bit
week.
longer. But we'll work on it.
Okay. Let's make sure we do that. We're going to move on to public comments. And before we do the public comments, I want to recognize, I seen Suzanne out in the audience. She has a walkability study that she gave you. The health department has really been working hard, Suzanne. We want to thank you for all the hard work that you do in our community. And I hope we can continue to work and you be included in this town and gown. We can make sure that everybody is coordinated well into our town and gown process and projects. So thank you for all the work that you do for our community. Thank you so very much, and for coming out.
One last thing, Mr. Chair, I forgot, and I wanted to mention it. We're working on some Christmas activities for the Midtown redevelopment area for the month of December. We have a lot of activities planned for the 4 Saturdays, the first 4 Saturdays in December. The health department again is working with us. We have other organizations within the community that are working with us on these events. We're trying to work with the businesses in the Midtown redevelopment area. We're gonna, and I talked to you about this before. We're gonna call it Light Up Midtown. The first Saturday, we're going to ask the businesses to, between 7 and 7:30 on that evening, we're going to ask them to all turn on their lights. We're going to ask them to decorate their buildings. We're going to have the activities in our area. We're going to try to get the streets decorated. We're going to ask the community, not only businesses, but residents, to decorate their homes, decorate their business. We're going to judge them, and we're going to give them some type of prize for the best decorated business and residents. We're planning on doing a parade in conjunction with BCU on the 8th of December. Hopefully we'll be able to do the parade. And for the community, we're going to do a step show and also a gospel fest. BCU is working with us on a community day. As you recall, a few years ago, BCU and the city used to do a community activity day geared toward Mr. Charles Cherry. That kind of went away. We're looking to bring that back with participation from BCU and the NAACP, the local chapter. NAACP is committed. I talked to Ms. Slater. She's committed to work with us to do that activity day to bring and help some of our kids in our community with toys who might be not as fortunate as our kids, and they need some kind of help. And so we're working on these events to bring to the Midtown area. I'm trying to get an early start. Please call me if you have any ideas so we could try to get them in right now, because right now I'm requesting the facility that we're going to use, which would be Daisy Stocking Park. The parade route would be the same route basically that Bethune-Cookman is going to use for their homecoming parade. So we got a lot of people we're trying to bring to the table to get these activities done. I don't profess to know all this stuff. I'm pulling, reaching for people like the health department, other agencies to come in and assist me to put this together for our area. So if you have any ideas, please contact me. Let me know if you want to participate and assist us in doing this.
Thank you, Charles. I'd like to go to public comments, if any. If so, please limit your comments to 2 minutes, please.
Don't say that. I'm trying to be good. Johnny Ponder, 885 Maley, M-A-L-E-Y Street. Charles, you know we've been working on this for a while, this Christmas thing, so you know how excited I am. I'm just so happy we're finally doing something for the kids and for all of us, you know, to decorate Midtown so it look like Christmas, you know, so it doesn't look like it's dead. So I'm real happy about this, and, you know, I always bug anyway, so I'm here to help whatever you need me to do. This was a very good meeting. And I meant to ask them about the times for playing the football thing. I know y'all already passed it, but, you know, sometimes them children need to be in bed at 9 o'clock. What are they doing at 11 o'clock? Talk about football. They need to be in bed. I think that's a little too much. I think, you know, when they come back next month, if they come back, whatever, we need to discuss that. And I got what's his name's phone number, President Jackson. So I'll be calling him and talking to him about that, because they need to be in bed. Don't be looking at me like that, like you don't know what I'm talking about, Denise. Yeah, but why are the lights going to be on?
Why not?
I understand that. Put it at 10 o'clock.
15 seconds.
I can talk for as long as. Thank you very much.
Turn it off.
I don't need the mic.
Steve Miller, 383 Walnut Street. You know, I was sitting back here and I was thinking, man, I'm really excited to seeing you guys. I served on the city commissioner, and to see this redevelopment board. I remember sitting here and hearing about the downtown redevelopment board and all the different things that they was doing. One of the things I would recommend that you guys look really close into, because I think what y'all gonna need is some finances, and I don't know whether or not the city commission gonna be willing to give you any money, but I think if y'all had something called a Mary McLeod Bethune Festival. You know, every year I go to this Jewel near Houston, and, you know, I flunked English when I was in school, and I didn't know nothing about literature either because I was in the below level classes. But I've heard of Mary McLeod Bethune. And if y'all will begin to benefit from that and have a festival, you all can get grant money, and we can actually ask the commissioner to give us a grant writer so we can write a grant so that you all can have the finances to do any and everything that you all want. In fact, I truly believe that y'all can have probably more money in y'all budget than any other community development group in this whole city. But I just want to commend you all and the professionalism that I've seen here tonight, and I want to say thank you, whoever came up with this idea. It was a very good idea, and you know what? I have a vested interest in the city. I've been in the city for a long time now, and thank you for representing this neighborhood.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I would love to help with y'all on that project.
Sorry about that. Kathy Washington, 937 Lockhart Street. A response to a couple of questions that were asked. The grass, Dr. Jameson spoke about it in the sidewalks. This issue was brought up, and Mr. Hill from Willie Drive, is that where he lives, Willie Drive? Mr. Hill from Willie Drive volunteered to do that himself. He said at no cost, if the city would provide him with whatever was needed, the spray or whatever you call it. And it's in, if it wasn't this board, it was city commission. And he volunteered to do that himself at no cost if the city provided him the product to do it, because they talked about being shorthanded on staff. Another item that came up was budget. I know for a fact for almost the past 3 years, the budget for Midtown has been zero. I find it hard to believe that there can be a budget for every redevelopment committee except Midtown. I get some real odd feelings about that. Attending the finance meetings, the budget meetings, there's no slack in saying there's nothing there for Midtown, but there are figures always for the other committees. I sat and I've listened and I've heard them discuss funds. And I missed the very last meeting, but I find it odd, and this comes to as a responsibility of the members of this board. If you don't attend those meetings, you don't know what's going on. And by not attending those meetings, then the granting authority feels you don't care. So there's no need to give you any money. If you cared, you'd be there. We talked about this $1 million, as Mr. Ivey has mentioned. It's been put in and it's been pulled out. It's been put in and it's been pulled out. The same thing with the money as for Orange Avenue. With the Orange Avenue project, there was grant money, but they were waiting for some more money. Now that they have some additional money, this was discussed last week in City Commission meeting, they want to get a grant. I don't understand the purpose of a grant when you got the money. And again, as has been said, the road belongs to the county. There comes a time when we stand up for what's ours. The county needs to uphold it. The county needs to do their part, and the city needs to do their part for correcting it before somebody falls in. Lastly, and I think it's the transportation department that needs to be contacted, MLK between International Speedway and Mary McLeod Bethune. There was a leak last week for 3 days. They came in, they fixed the road, they cut out 3 huge squares where they went underground and they repaired. To this day, they have not plugged those holes. They put dirt in, they put pebbles in, and I go by in the morning and it's fine. In the evening, there are potholes big enough for a tire to go in and somebody to get hurt. It needs to be, they wouldn't do it anyplace else but in Midtown, and it needs to be corrected. There's some things that need to be done, but again, the board's doing a fantastic job. I've seen you come a long way in 3 years. I just think we need to be steadfast and continue the process. Don't back up now.
Thank you, Ms. Washington. Are there any other comments?
Good evening again to the board. Pierre Lewis, 130 South Franklin Street. I too was amazed sometimes by the comments when I heard when they said that there wasn't a budget for Midtown area, and I started thinking the fact that I'm a property owner, so I paid property taxes, so they at least got $348 from Midtown.
I know.
Matter of fact, I think they got $412 because that's what I paid year before, and now 3. So they at least got that much. We can use that something. So it's kind of insulting and kind of lures to think that you have property owners that are paying property taxes, and then someone comes back. I mean, in its most elementary terms, to say that the property taxes, and I'm all for everybody in the city, but at least a portion, at least $348 should at least go towards Charles's our event for the Christmas time, because I paid my property taxes. So it is ludicrous, and I wish we really would find a way to address that. And I work late, but I'll try to get to that commission meeting when you said, so you don't just have to have the voices from the board members, because I think it's always advantageous to have the voices from I guess the common man, the citizen that's out there in the streets. The other issue that I wanted to address in the board is that I've mentioned before, I missed last month's meeting, but about the Wi-Fi, I was talking about that ad nauseum many times over, and I keep looking at the minutes and stuff, and I haven't heard that really being addressed again. So that's just one point of reference that I wanted to talk about. And I don't know whether any decision has been made across the board to address a portion of that Wi-Fi. I know the city, you got a nice new website. It looks gorgeous from an IT perspective. I like that. So that flows, but I haven't seen that Wi-Fi that's being addressed. And I know we got new computers that's down at Dickinson Center, but the Wi-Fi, I guess my bottom line is really 2 words: what happened?
What
And,
we'll do,
yes, sir.
Pierre is, Charles, between now and next month, let's me and you and, get with Mr. Pierre's schedule, and let's try to meet with, the rest of the staff and see what's going on with this Wi-Fi. Especially when they, working on getting ready to do Orange Avenue. It's a good time to put it down if they got to do it. So, we'll get with Charles and
yes, sir,
get a schedule, and we'll meet.
Yes,
during
sir.
business hours, and if we need to get it on the schedule, then the next Midtown meeting we'll do that.
Okay. And I know I got only 2 minutes. So I got only 2 other comments that I was wondering about. Is I know we were talking about get with Chief Chitwood. I'm sorry about the what we do about the crimes. Well, my perspective is we increase the jobs, and that decreases a lot of crimes that happens in a number of areas too. The other thing too is I talked to some of my neighbors. We addressed it once before about the magnolia trees, and that's another one that, to my mind, 2 words comes to mind to say what happened. I've seen people clean up around the magnolia trees, and and that's just because of the property owners that are around there. They've hired a yard man, they clean up around it, but right where those trees are at, I mean, what is it, September next month is just in time for Halloween, because that's what they look like, something for Halloween, because the trees are coming out, and I realize that happens because of water, and but I go back to my statement, what happened. And thank you to the board for hearing my comments, and to Mr. Bryant, one of the things I always look at about when it comes around the Christmas time is how we get more of the citizens. I feel your pain on how we get more of the citizens involved, so that when we have a community event like Light Up, I think you said Light Up Midtown, to get where it doesn't necessarily have to come from just the city. I think you kind of build from within. So I'm with you on that if you need help in that, because I really want to see more of the Midtown citizens. I know I got to cut it off, involved in that. But thank you, Mr. Ivey, and thanks to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to start the board comments off with Ms. Benjamin, because she was starting cut her. So at this time, we're going to move to board comments. Thank you.
The only comment I have is that I need to talk with Lopez, that's his name, because I'm quite concerned about the building I keep complaining about. And I remember him saying one time that he had more than Midtown to do. I do too. But if you can pass that building and go down there and mess with the churches and little small places, then that building is ridiculous. And not only that building, right, that one, but that whole little area they're cleaning up. So maybe I need to speak to his boss, the chief. Thank you.
Ms. Cato.
I would just like to say I commend all of us for all of our efforts, keeping our eyes open and looking out for Midtown. Kudos to Mr. Bryant for all the hard work that you do. Reed's not here, so I'll save my comments till next month that I have directed for Reed. Also, how is it we have something and it's taken away? There are a lot of people that come to me and ask about wanting to come before this board asking for help because they have properties and businesses in Midtown, private home properties. And how can you tell them to come when if they're needing help, there's nothing to give them? That $1 million has been just bumping and floating around now for what, about a year? And it hurts to know, once again, we keep hearing this, I think it's stated in every meeting, what they do in Midtown, they won't do across the river or downtown and, those sort of things. So The question is, Pierre says, what happened? My question is, how serious do they take us? We're fulfilling the requirement by being a board and doing what our guidelines say. Charles and Reed, they go before, but it seems like it's falling on deaf ears. So we'll keep up the fight and stay on top of, you know, the current issues. And I appreciate the land development code, because I received a phone call about the grass issue again, someone on Live Oak. And as we were speaking, someone from the city came and he asked, and he said, told him, you're responsible. And in the land development code, it says they're responsible. So I guess there's a lot of education we have to get out to the citizens in Midtown also. Go Wildcats.
Thank you. Mr. Tooley?
Yes, I want to echo thanking Mr. Bryant for the copy of the Land Development Code. They have done a good job of putting that in our hands, so now we do have tools to work with. I also want to address a couple of issues. When we deal with the Orange Avenue project, it needs to begin at Nova Road instead of beginning at the river. Because inevitably, if it begins at the river, by the time they get to Ridgewood, there's no money left. And it's amazing that we allowed the Department of Transportation, well, the Department of Transportation will blame somebody else and somebody else will blame somebody else. But have you noticed how from Orange Avenue South, you cannot cross Ridgewood Avenue without going to Bellevue? So what has happened is, when it comes time for special events, people cannot get over into the Midtown community to participate in things that are going on the side streets without knowing how to get around in the community in general. Next thing is, we need to be aware and make our members of Midtown aware that there's been proposed a renter's tax to pay for things on LPGA. Now, I'm sorry, there ain't too many people in the 32114 area code that are going to be playing on LPGA. But that's where the majority of the renters are. To me, there's a problem with that. That's in Midtown. We need to let people know that that is being proposed, and we need to come out to the city commission meeting to deal with it, because those are the kind of things that are hurting our community. We also need to get accountability about the budget, because every grant that is written uses the demography of Midtown. But we do not get the benefits of those grants. You cannot get those grants without using Midtown's demography. We need to get involved in this. Also, the city needs a new grant writer. I'm sorry, because if it took them this long to get a grant for Orange Avenue, we need new grant writers, because it's not that difficult to get the money.
It's not a grant, it's a loan that they're doing.
That's all right. They got a loan this time, but there's grants out there to get it. And the reason I say we need a new grant writer, because I read the grant that we had privy to. And having written grants, I saw a lot of things in there that should not have been there. So we need to really, we're getting pacified. And if we're not careful, we're going to be back into the same issue it was when it was separate but equal. We need to get up and get people involved. Mr. Bryant, I'm here to work with you for the Christmas stuff. In the parade, we need to go back to inviting all the high schools to participate in the parade. Those are things that we need to do to bring the city back together. I thank the board. You guys have been wonderful. great group to work with. And Miss Cato, you know I'm gonna mess with you anyway. You still look cute in your little outfit. Thank you all.
Dr. Jameson.
Couple of issues. If I remember correctly from my days at the city of Tallahassee, in the budgetary process, it is the department that's associated with a particular board that submits budget requests. And in order to do that, then we need to first get with the department that we are associated with at the beginning of the budgetary process and write a request for budget. Is that correct, Charles? That you all would submit, if we wanted money, we would have, you would all have to submit that? Okay. All right, so if we know when the budget process begins, then if we have some particular request, we need to submit that through the department to do that. I used to work capital budgets a long time ago. The second thing is the grass. If you have somebody volunteering to cut the grass, why is it not done? And if for liability issue, whatever issue it is, if he can't do it, it seems to me, y'all know where I stay. Okay. If in one day, it looks to me like one public works employee could get a grass cutter and just go down the street, and a letter sent out to the property owner says, we cut it this time, from now is your responsibility. If nothing else, that would make Martin Luther King look much, much better. Just the elimination of that grass that's growing up on the sidewalk and in some places in the street. I think one day that could be accomplished. But if that man can do it, that needs to be a priority before Christmas. The third thing is trash cans. I've been going down some other areas, and I see that there are trash cans, particularly near bus stops. But I've gone all the way down Martin Luther King, and there's not a trash can. I think that would help tremendously if they had trash cans down Martin Luther King, and so they won't keep putting them in my hedges. And every day I have to go clean them out. The last thing is, I've also talked with Charles about Christmas activities. I'm ready, willing, and able. I think I can anticipate. I'm always excited about Christmas, but the thought of Martin Luther King and that area being decorated and all come on at the same time, I'm very, very excited about it. And maybe Santa will bring me a present this year. I've been naughty, huh?
Mr. Williams.
Good evening. Excuse me. Well, quite a bit to say this evening. I'll start with Mr. Bryant. First of all, I want to thank you for the hard work that you're doing, all that you do for this board, and for the way that you advocate for this board. I really appreciate you. I'd just like to have one request. If you could do me a favor, if we could get our package just a little bit earlier. Now, I understand that you are bogged down. I really do. I'm a single father and raising my 2 kids by myself, and Fridays and Saturdays, they just have me all over the place, and so it's hard for me to get that done in a couple of days. I would be really grateful if we could, get just a couple of days earlier. Another thing that's a real pet peeve of mine is I think we need to as a board, need to make an effort to get the community involved. The community will give us teeth. The community will give us teeth. And when we stand before the commission and say whatever we say, if you've got 60 people sitting out here, then the commission has to talk to them as well as us. We need to get the people involved. Mr. Hill is a member of my neighborhood crime watch, and I'm inviting them, and I'm slowly taking effect. But he heard that issue here, and because he heard it here, he stepped forward. There are people in the community, but people aren't accustomed to the political process. And some people are afraid of politics. They don't think it works. That's why we've got to begin a grassroots movement to help people to understand that it works if we work it. And we can't sit back and say, it's not enough to sit back and say, well, we called a meeting. No, we've got to go knock on people's doors. Because people are afraid of politics, in particular, people in the Midtown area. Just something to think about. I'd like to thank you all, thank the board and the chair for bringing Professor Huffman back a couple of weeks ago. It cleared up a lot of things for me, and because this is my first term on the board, so I was in the dark about a lot of things, and I'm learning things each and every day. But it cleared up a lot of things for me personally. At the Christmas, for those of you that don't know, I'm a minister of music at my church, and I'm going to go out on the limb and say that my church will be totally in support of whatever it is that the city will be doing, and personally, I'm excited. I asked 2 meetings ago about the city comp plan. You know, if we could get a copy of that, and last month, it was said that it wasn't ready. But I just want to keep reminding you that we really, really would love a copy of that comprehensive plan. Okay. And I did hear somewhere in the wind a couple of days ago that as our chair said, that's not a grant, it's a low interest loan, and that's for Orange Avenue. I heard that in the wind someplace. I won't say where I heard. When it comes to code enforcement, right in my neighborhood near Russell and Orange, there's a fire hydrant there that the citizens in my area, my neighborhood crime watch, they complained about. They came in because it was leaking. They came and did something. This is about, I don't know, it must have been about 3 weeks ago. And there's tape and the cones around that, and it's been sitting there for the last 3 weeks. It's a terrible eyesore, but the fire hydrant hasn't been fixed, and there's just monstrosity of tape and cones there enclosing it. That's another one of those things that I don't think would have happened everywhere.
What was that street again?
Also, it's not in Midtown, but I just because it was a code enforcement thing. But I think that's another thing that wouldn't have necessarily happened for 3 weeks in other parts of Daytona Beach. I think that's all I have. Thank you, board. I'm really, really growing and learning about this entire process. But I do know, as I was prior to this, I just didn't believe that the process works, and that's how I know that there are other people around. And as I talk to people on my neighborhood crime watch, and I talk to other people in the city, they simply don't think it works, so they're not going to come. And I think it is incumbent upon us to educate them and let them know that we were once, or I know I was once, a person that didn't think the process works, and we've got to encourage them to come out personally. Thank you all.
Thank you. Ms. Simonette? Turn your mic on.
To get the Orange Avenue, to start at Orange Avenue, so that when the money run out there the other side of town, I don't know how we go about doing that, but that would be one of the really good things to start in that direction. And Mr. Bryan, I'm also on board with that, the Christmas, and I think you should try to, not just the high schools, but also do the middle schools. Yeah, yes, and get a good parade in. So, thank you.
Ms.
Chairman
Hurd?
Ivey. Oh, I'm sorry.
Ms. Hurd?
Good afternoon again, everybody. I'm not going to repeat things that have been said, but I do agree with you. Sicko Service Station, that is part of Midtown. That is on International Boulevard. It's filthy.
Disgusting.
Disgusting.
Deplorable.
It needs, something needs to be done. They have a restaurant there, and all of the grease is outside. They have a handicapped parking space there that looks like it was hand painted, and everybody parks there except handicapped people. They park there and block the drive-through. So if you come in on the side, you cannot get through because of the handicap and someone else is parked there. But the place is filthy. Deplorable. Okay? Orange Avenue and MLK. It's so sad that they don't dig deep wells anymore. All of the water that hits something turns it another color. I'm speaking of just a huge sign right now. It's supposed to, it's white. Okay, thank you, Mr. Bryan. You're working on it. Okay. Since we took a vote just to see how we were standing with BCU, and we talked about how beautiful BCU has improved International Boulevard, all of the buildings, the nursing building, the 4 or 5 buildings there. Maybe we need to go back and tell BCU it's time to come back to the city and ask for campus police department. We need that department up there. You call up our city police, they don't get there in time. The other day around 4 o'clock in front of Whitehall, a maroon car driving east with this royal blue car with the royal blue wheels. If you get the tag number, give it to me. I'll pass it on. Royal blue car, royal blue wheels. It was on the south side of MMBB. In other words, the maroon car was protecting it from traffic that might be coming east. The doors open, they swerving in the road, and loud music. And it does look like a university campus up there because of the number of students. By the time I turned around, they had gone, but I'm still looking for it. Truly, this might be a time to go back and say, we're improving the city. Help us improve our campus. Thank you.
Mr. Ivey, if I may speak again, Dr. Jameson was talking about the grass and the young man that wanted to volunteer. But just this past weekend when I was at the farmer's market, I noticed 2 young men sitting on buckets. They had on the same type T-shirts, but they're part of that program that cleans up Beach Street. So I'm wondering, these are people, I'm not sure the criteria that they must meet, but I know it was something that the city put into place where these young men who I believe are criminals, they're not.
No.
Homeless
Yes, sir.
recovery, it's part of their program. And every day you see these people up and down Beach Street picking up trash, painting, anything. And I don't know if it's in their budget with this program or if this program is citywide. So my concern is, if it's a program that's in place for the entire city, it's not. Okay, so it's just for that redevelopment board. So maybe we can request in a budget, if not, I don't know if they get paid or the criteria, but something to where we have volunteers, because there are quite a few people who need volunteer hours and community service to do things within the community. And I think that would be something we should look into, to where everybody can't afford a weed eater. Everybody may not be physically able to go out and take care of that grass that abuts up to the road. But if we could put into some type of system to where we have people that will do this because there's a requirement they need to meet, and maybe that would alleviate some of the problem with that certain part of Midtown just looking, overgrown and untouched. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Again, I would like to thank everybody for coming out this evening, especially participating in the discussion. That's why I want to spend more time on the board comments in this particular meeting. One thing I do, and I have to thank Johnny a lot because she really does help me being the past chair. She helped me with a lot of information, and she make me look up a lot of information to really sit back and determine which direction do we really need to go in cleaning the city up. One of the things I went and did, because we were really concerned about that land development code and the master plan. So one of the things the time frame was something that we was really hitting on, that it shouldn't take a year or 2 years for this plan to be approved. Well, I got how we should do it and how it needs to be done, it should only take 6 months if they follow the outline that other cities have been doing. So that's some of the things that I'm going to be working on and try to get back to you on the next meeting or in November. But it should only take 6 months for all the work that we've done to get this plan approved and get it into law. The other thing, like Mr. Wilborn was saying, we have to educate our people. And the only way we're going to educate our people is we have to come out to these meetings. Okay? I mean, you just can't come out on Tuesday and just say, okay, everything is going to be discussed, because it doesn't work like that. If you go to these different meetings that the city have and the CRA, and even attend some of the other CRA meetings, the downtown board meeting or the DDA or Main Street, it's public meeting. So you're welcome to go in there. You don't just have to come, and you can see how things are being done, because they're having some of the same problems and issues that we're having. Okay, and if you attend them, you will find this out. Now, I'm really heavy on this budget because I know, first of all, that we're citizens. And as a citizen, we're allowed to sit on this advisory board. So there's no reason when somebody say, well, you're an advisory board. No, I'm a citizen. So you have the right to know this information. You have a right to question anything that the city hall is doing, because this is the government institution. If you go to some of the meetings that we went to, and that's why I'm urging everybody to please come out, bring a friend, bring somebody from the city of Daytona to this next city commission meeting, so we can stand up and demand what we deserve. Because without numbers, they're not going to listen to us. And I'm here to tell you, I don't have a problem calling anybody on anything that you had the facts on. And some of the facts in some of these meetings that we went to, I mean, Johnny was there, some of the other citizens, but it was open to the public and dealing with the finance of the city. You would think it would be a bigger crowd, but you'll be surprised you can count the number of people on your hand. And that's not good. When we sitting up looking at $100 million budget for the city of Daytona, and you can't find $1 million for us. We should be asking for $10 million. If we was looking at it the right way, they want to increase fees, people, from $50 to $250. That's not fair. How you going to create a system without coming to the people and even creating a system that you don't even know how you arrive at the formulas? But that's what's being presented at these meetings. But if you don't come out, you won't know. You know, you sit up on a budget projected of $400 and some thousand from Midtown, your $300 and something is included in that. Yeah. But the only thing on the budget is $200 and some thousand. Okay, the other $200,000, I'm imagining gonna go to salaries. Well, I don't see where we getting $200,000 worth of salaries from our community. So I'm just sitting there telling, this is why it's important that you come out and get this information, come down to the clerk office and request this information for you to have it, for when you're sitting up there, you talking, you asking a factual question, that all of us can have the right to sit back and ask. And if you're looking at these proposed budgets for the city of Daytona, all of us should be crying. All of us should be crying. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I'm going to say, because I called the city manager. And any time the city manager will tell a person, well, you can't bully me into making the decision, I'm going to tell you, I say, well, I'm not a bully and I have a right to ask a question. So that tells me if the city manager telling a citizen that, what is he telling the remaining people that's running the city? And he know I'm not afraid. I'll stand toe to toe and tell you the truth when we're talking about it, because I'm concerned about our neighborhood. I'm concerned about our city. I'm concerned why we don't have in our area what other citizens have in their areas when we have the right to it, because we pay taxes. And then when it's a lower amount of taxes being paid in our community, then you should find a way to supplement it. And it's not being supplemented because we don't have the grant writers in place to help supplement our cities. And that's one of the problems that we really have. So I'm encouraging everybody to please come out to this next city commission meeting and let's talk and advocate for what we deserve in our communities, from the kids all the way up to our senior citizens. Deserve better. With that in mind, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
I was about to say before the motion, I know that they post these things on the board, the different meetings and all of that, but will you, as chairperson of the Midtown board, give some of us a phone call if you know that we would love to be there?
Maybe the chair could call Charles and Charles could call the board
okay,
members.
well, tell Charles to call us, please.
We'll do that. We'll send out emails, but it's on the website. People, let's attend the meetings. That's all I'm asking you to do.
Mr. Chairman.
I still ask.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I want to go to Main Street Redevelopment Board meeting. Is that the one you go to, Ms. Washington? Downtown. I want to go to downtown. They serve lunch.
I agree with that. Mr. Chairman, I move adjournment of the meeting.
So move.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to welcome everybody in the audience and the TV audience to the Midtown Redevelopment Area Board meeting Tuesday, September 11, 2012. City Hall Commission Chambers, the city of Daytona Beach. We're going to call this meeting to order, and following the roll call, before we go into the invocation and the pledge of allegiance, once we stand, I would like for us to pause for a couple of minutes in remembrance of the victims of 9/11. After we pause, I'm going to ask Ms. Cato to lead us in prayer and ask Ms. Simonette to lead the pledges of allegiance. This time, please stand for a couple minutes, please. Thank you very much. Ms. Cato.
May we pray? Our Father and our eternal God, it is once again we, your humble servants, come before you with humble hearts, thanking you for your many blessings, your grace and your mercies. Bless our hearts and our minds to make decisions not in a selfish one way, but to make it for the betterment of this city. Keep us, protect us, and guide us, and give us traveling grace and mercy as we depart this building. When our eyes cast upon the city, we ask that we have thoughts of how we can become one city with your guidance. We give you all the praise, honor, and glory. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Again, before we get started, I wanted to say to this board, I wanted to thank you for your hard work and time that you put in here, because I realize that this is all voluntary time. But there's a member here tonight that is in bereavement, but yet she chose to still show up. She lost her mother a couple of months ago, if you can all remember. And then just the other day, she lost a nephew. And I want to thank Ms. Shirley Benjamin. You have our deepest sympathy from this board. I ask that God keep his arms of protection around you and strengthen you where you've been torn down, build you up. And thank you for coming out tonight. I'd like the approval of the minutes for August the 14th. Are there any changes? No, I'm sorry. Back up. Roll call.
Ms. Benjamin? Present. Ms. Simonette? Here. Mr. McGee? Ms. Cato?
Present.
Mr. Tulip?
Present.
Ms. Hurd?
Here.
Mr. Williams? Here. Dr. Jameson?
Here.
Chairman Knight?
Here. Also, special prayer to go out also to our board member in his absence, Mr. Ken McGee, who's also in surgical procedure this evening. So we ask that you keep him in your prayers and lift him up also. We'll go to item number 5, approval of the minutes for August the 14th. Are there any changes? Any discussion? If so, state them. Mr. Erb.
In my absence the last time, I did notice also that Ms. Ponder lives on Maley, M-A-L-E-Y, Maley Street, and not Mary.
That was on page number...
Twice.
Yeah, I seen it. It's on page number 12 in public comments. They got 885 Mary, should be 885 Maley. I remember seeing it there, and if it's anywhere else to be corrected, please correct it in our minutes. Also, Ms. Cato, do you have any corrections?
No.
Ms. Benjamin? No. Okay, one of the things I wanted to make sure dealing with these minutes also was one of the reasons that we voted on that last redevelopment plan, and Reed is not here, and these are some of the concerns that we be sharing. We were going to change the plan, and it had to be, it has not been done. So Charles, those changes that we requested be done in that redevelopment plan needs to go back to the city commission the correct way with the recommendations that were given by this board, because when it was presented at the city commission meeting, it was not presented correctly. And in Reed's absence, I won't say too much on that. Also, I want to make sure that we recognize Commissioner Reynolds was here on number 6, that we make sure that she was recognized as a city commissioner that came out to the meeting also. If there aren't any other corrections, may I have approved?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Tooley. Okay.
I move that the minutes be accepted with any necessary corrections beyond those that have been stated.
So move.
It's been motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Ayes have it. Thank you.